Welcome to Conservation Beyond the Cage, the official podcast of the Rare Species Conservatory Foundation. RSCF is a nonprofit organization specializing in breeding and recovery strategies for some of the world's rarest wildlife. Here, we go beyond headlines and hashtags, beyond exhibits and press releases, to bring you the truth about species conservation and the people behind the programs fighting every day to save what remains of nature. Each episode is a journey into the forests, the labs, the rescue centers, and the policy rooms where science, expertise, and courage intersect. We're here to inform, to enlighten, and to inspire a deeper understanding of what real conservation looks like, up close, unfiltered, and undeniably urgent. Because this isn't just about saving individual species, it's about saving wildlife and wild places. This is Conservation Beyond the Cage.
Welcome to Conservation Beyond the Cage. I'm Karen, and today we're diving into a topic that hits very close to home here at RSCF, the illegal wildlife trade, specifically the trade in parrot species.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris. Thanks for tuning in. There's no way we can cover this topic in one episode, so we're splitting this up into a series. Today we're going to talk about specific trafficking cases from the past few years and discuss how illegal wildlife trade is on the rise.
Globally, wildlife trafficking touches thousands of species, and parrots are always high on the list.
That's true. So, why is wildlife trade on the rise? Believe it or not, COVID had a huge impact. When the world shut down, funding for wildlife protection agencies plummeted. Rangers, inspectors, and enforcement officers were furloughed or reassigned. Patrols on the ground and oversight at ports slowed.
So fewer people are watching and fewer resources are available. Sounds like a perfect opportunity for illegal activity.
Exactly. Smugglers took advantage. With less oversight and stretched budgets, trafficking networks ramped up. We saw an increase in online wildlife sales and more sophisticated smuggling attempts, like eggs in tech-fitted coolers.
That's sobering. A global health crisis actually opened the door wider for another crisis, wildlife crime.
Yes, and it showed us how fragile enforcement systems can be. Once you remove personnel, oversight, and funding, illegal trade fills the gap almost immediately. So, here are the facts. The UN's latest wildlife crime report shows trafficking has gone seriously high-tech, touching over 4,000 species across 162 countries. And parrots are right at the top of that list. Beautiful, smart, and long-lived, parrots have been in the pet trade for centuries. Their ability to mimic human speech, along with their intelligence and personality, have made them a high-value target for the market.
And as you can imagine, the rarer the parrot, the more it's worth on the black market. Endangered species like Spix macaws, yellow-naped Amazons, and red-browed Amazons can fetch thousands of dollars each. And that's driving some pretty shocking numbers from what I understand.
You better believe it. Just in Mexico alone, we're looking at somewhere between 34,000 and 41,000 parrots being captured every single year. That's enough to push species like the yellow-headed Amazon toward extinction.
Those numbers are just staggering. It's hard to imagine moving that many birds. It blows my mind.
So here's where it gets really interesting. The smugglers have basically created this whole underground supply chain. It starts with nest raiding, where they're literally climbing trees to steal chicks or eggs.
This is where the tech comes in. These guys have designed some fairly high-tech means of smuggling chicks and eggs. The cooler design is crazy. They look from the outside like regular lunch coolers.
Exactly right. These aren't just regular coolers. We're talking about sophisticated devices with digital temperature controls, humidity sensors, and rechargeable heating elements, all designed to keep those eggs viable during international flights.
That's some James Bond-level smuggling right there. Besides eggs and chicks, adult birds are crammed into boxes, bags, even plastic bottles. Truly horrifying.
It really is. And as many as 60 to 90% of smuggled parrots die in transit before they ever even reach a purchaser. This staggering mortality rate is a direct result of the inhumane capture and transport conditions inherent to the illegal wildlife trade. And even if they do make it, they completely bypass quarantine, which creates huge risks for spreading diseases like avian influenza.
Yeah, the disease risk is off the charts. Without proper legal procedures that include import permits, quarantine, and testing, who knows what's coming in?
And that can have some scary implications for wherever these birds end up.
Okay, let's talk about some specific cases and events. There have been some high-profile cases in the news recently here in the US and abroad. I heard about some pretty dramatic busts at the border.
Oh man, let me tell you about what happened in San Diego just this May. Customs agents found 17 birds hidden under a car seat. And these weren't just any birds. We're talking about burrowing parakeets, yellow-crowned Amazons, red-lored Amazons. 2 of those chicks didn't make it.
There have been quite a few busts this year involving smugglers from Mexico. These guys will stop at nothing. One guy had a dozen orange-fronted parakeets stuffed into cowboy boots. That may sound funny, but it's anything but. At least 2 of those birds died, one from a broken neck. The rest were all in poor health. All of this is heartbreaking, but not unexpected. And one of the worst was that case from Puerto Rico. What a horror show.
That one still keeps me up at night. February this year, a smuggler tried to move 402 birds by ferry to the Dominican Republic. When authorities found them, 113 birds had drowned. The smuggler had tossed the cages overboard to try to avoid detection.
Absolutely disgusting. Living animals tossed away like garbage, and law enforcement is left to pick up the pieces, make arrests, build cases, and recover, and somehow care for the real victims, the birds themselves. There are so many considerations and problems to solve. These agencies are doing incredible work.
It's actually pretty impressive. We're seeing this coordinated effort between U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Customs and Border Protection, and the Department of Justice. They're not just making arrests, they're building complex cases. Even with cuts to budgets and fewer agents, they're still working around the clock to capture and prosecute smugglers.
On top of all this, social media has become a way for smugglers to connect with buyers around the world.
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the most concerning new trends. In July, 20 yellow-headed Amazons were intercepted in Texas, headed straight for Facebook Marketplace. The internet has basically become this giant virtual black market.
And even with safeguards in place, platforms like Facebook simply can't keep up.
Yeah, it's actually pretty creepy. You can buy and sell just about anything on Facebook.
Okay, let's talk about who's behind all this. Where are all these illegally bought and sold birds coming from and ending up?
Well, countries with high levels of parrot smuggling are predominantly in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, where the birds are native. Mexico and the Democratic Republic of Congo are consistently cited for high numbers of illegal trapping and trafficking. But it's hard to get definitive data because of how secretive the illegal wildlife trade market is. These guys are really good at covering their tracks.
And we should point out it's important to distinguish between countries where parrots are trapped and countries that act as transit points or have high consumer demand. Smugglers need buyers.
Yeah, countries like Singapore, the Netherlands, and South Africa have previously acted as major trade hubs, where wild-caught parrots are re-exported or laundered as captive bred before being shipped to consumer markets. The European Union, the United States, and countries in the Middle East and Asia are major markets for exotic birds.
That's almost overwhelming. We're talking sophisticated crime syndicates, right up there with drug trade.
You're right. Wildlife trade and drug trade have historically gone hand in hand.
Of course, the driving force in all of this is money, supply, and demand.
Exactly. Behind any smuggling operation is an individual or group willing to finance it. Wealthy individuals who want the rarest of the rare for their personal collections, or unscrupulous pet traders willing to pay for bulk shipments of illegally poached eggs and chicks to pass off as captive bred. And once a bird has made it to market, it's extremely difficult to prove it was wild caught.
Let's talk about the bigger picture, what the illegal parrot trade means for wild populations.
The impacts are devastating. Parrots are slow breeders. Some don't even reach breeding age until they're around 10 years old, and many species lay just 2 or 3 eggs per year, and not all chicks survive naturally.
So when smugglers take eggs or capture adults, entire nesting seasons are wiped out. It's not just losing a few individuals, it's losing future generations.
Exactly. Many of these species are already endangered. For example, trafficking is a major reason that species like the yellow-headed Amazon in Mexico and Central America have lost up to 90% of their wild populations. Every egg stolen represents not just one bird, but a critical blow to genetic diversity and recovery potential.
And demand fuels a vicious cycle. Poachers keep stripping nests because buyers keep paying.
Yes, wild populations simply can't reproduce fast enough to replace what's being stolen. That's why enforcement and rescue efforts matter so much. They give species a fighting chance.
Beyond the numbers, there's also a cultural side to this. People see parrots in cages all the time, at pet shops, in zoos, in homes, even in movies. Have we become desensitized to what that really means?
I think we have. Parrots are highly intelligent, social, long-lived birds. In the wild, they fly miles every day, interact in flocks, and shape ecosystems as seed dispersers. Yet so often, we only see them behind bars, perched on a stand in someone's living room. That normalizes the idea that parrots belong in cages.
It's almost as if we've lost sight of the fact that parrots are wildlife, not possessions, not colorful decorations, or pets.
Exactly. And while parrots will always exist in some part of the legal pet trade, our position is clear. No endangered species should ever be bought, sold, or kept as a pet. Every time an endangered bird ends up in a cage, it's another step toward extinction in the wild.
So the question is, do we, as a society, value these birds more as talking novelties in our homes or as keystone species in thriving rainforests?
That's the conversation we need to have. Because what we choose will shape whether future generations ever hear wild parrots calling in their natural habitats or see them flying free.
This is an extremely complicated issue. Governments, law enforcement, and conservation organizations need to be given the tools necessary to end the cycle and stop illegal trade. It won't happen overnight, but we have to keep trying. Before we close, it's worth reminding listeners this issue isn't abstract for us here at the Rare Species Conservatory Foundation.
Right. RSCF has been directly on the front lines of combating the illegal parrot trade for decades. In 2024, we partnered with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service after 27 parrot eggs were confiscated at Miami International Airport.
The eggs were in one of the tech coolers we talked about and were in serious jeopardy. Customs and law enforcement agents had to act fast.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service called us in immediately and transported the eggs to RSCF, where we set them up in specialized incubators and launched an all-hands-on-deck emergency recovery effort. Over the next 3 months, staff worked round the clock, incubating, hatching, and hand-rearing the chicks.
It was exhausting, intense, but also inspiring, and it showed what's possible when agencies and nonprofits collaborate and act quickly. It was a crazy time here, but that's what we do best.
And that's where we'll pick up next time. Our next episode will take you behind the scenes of that Miami case, from the first frantic call to the moment those chicks took their first flights.
So until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and stay wild.